Appreciate you wherever you're listening. Thanks down in Alton, WBGZ, AM and FM. Also, Bloomington, WJBC. Glad you're with us as well. The Sports Spectacular continues. Larry, Mike, and Brad, as we mentioned a moment ago, tough news Monday morning when we all woke up to hear that Illini legend Efrem Winters had passed away at the age of 61. The All Big Ten performer as a sophomore, part of that 84 team that went to the Elite Eight, won the Big Ten championship. Guys, we were talking as we conversed via text and phone all during the week. Our memories of Ephrem is one of our favorite Illini players.
Yeah, no question. I thought Ephrem was, it was so much fun watching him dunk. I mean, He would dunk like behind his head. He'd get an alley-oop from Bruce Douglas and throw it down behind his head. And you'd be like, it's just amazing. It was so much fun. It was in a time when that wasn't very common, and you just saw a guy, and he could shoot it. He's just so athletic, and it's just a really exciting player. He was my favorite player on that. Nothing against anybody else on that team, but he was my favorite guy on that squad back then.
Yeah, Ephrem was one of my top 5 Illini. We used to, anytime we'd shoot a turnaround jumper from the baseline, we'd yell Efrem Winters as it goes through. We loved Ephrem there in Muhammad, and I will tell you, he was a guy that I think if they had social media nowadays with some of the alley-oops that Bruce Douglas fed him and the style with which he threw those down, he would be a legend. And I hope somebody from the DIA can go through and maybe put together a tape of some of his best dunks, because that would be something that Illini fans would click on all the time.
Yeah, there's no question. We will bring a very special guest. He's been mentioned twice already here by both of you. All Big Ten guard, All-American as well. Bruce Douglas, a 4-year starter on those Illini teams in the early 80s, and a teammate and friend of Efrem Winters. Bruce, great to have you with us. Sorry it's at a time like this. Just let's start your memories of Efrem and the playing days and your friendship since then.
Yeah, well, I mean, what a joy it was to have been a friend of Ephrem's. We were like brothers. I laughed because we met for the first time. We both had committed to Illinois, talked on the phone briefly, but the first time we met was at the McDonald's game in Chicago. I met him, said hello, and of course we were practicing. And we're running down the court, and he makes, they throw it into him on the post. He makes one of them moves where he starts on one side of the rim and dunks it on the other side. And I'm yelling, "Oh, that's my teammate there!" and then I got the next couple times down the court, I got a chance to throw him the first alley oops before we even got to Illinois. But he's a special guy. Ephrem is man. He was a very humble guy, talented. Athletic, of course, from a basketball perspective, he was the epitome of a power forward. He had a great post shot on that baseline. He was a killer, and he just a sweet 15-foot shot. And so you loved him, but he was as great of a player he was a greater person, a greater man. As a friend, he was someone that was dependable, loyal, not a man of many words, but when he said something, he meant it. And, I never heard Ephrem complain, worked hard every day. We both came from big families, so we had a lot in common when we got into college, and we just grew close automatically. It's just a natural thing. But Ephrem was a great father, a great husband, and of course, he loved being a grandfather. That's where he spent these last few years with his grandson a lot of time. And so, when you think back just over his life, it goes quickly. And I think it makes you sad. I will miss him. I love him dearly, but I do know he's a believer in Jesus Christ. And so I believe I'm going to see him one day again, and that makes me glad. But I think most people that will tell you about Ephrem will tell you that he was a gentle giant, Easy E or Big E, whichever one you prefer to call him. They both fit his character. So, he's going to be truly missed, but I think he left a legacy and an impact on people that will last a long time.
Yeah, there are some rims who would disagree with the Easy E because he did do some damage on some rims at times. I I got to ask a question. I mean, playing with a guy like him, I mean, were you ever just wowed by the talent sometimes? I mean, he was so athletic, so skilled. Just his sophomore year, he was arguably one of the best players in the country as a sophomore. I mean, did you ever just kind of marvel at the talent you were with?
Oh, definitely. I mean, listen, I became the all-time leader in assists, and I hate to tell you, it wasn't that I was such a great passer. Ephrem could just was a great catcher. I mean, I threw some passes that I don't think Superman could have caught, and somehow he was able to catch them and turn them into some kind of spectacular, phenomenal dunk. So he was there's no question that he was a very unique talent. There wasn't many that was as talented as him during our time in college. And of course, that sophomore year, he just had a great year. And he was definitely one of the top 6 or 7 players in the country at that point. He had just kind of, his body had kind of balanced out. His athletic ability had kind of maxed, and he peaked in a lot of areas. But he was just phenomenal. Some of the dunks he could do with people hanging on him was incredible. And so, yeah, he surprised us all the time in practice. I mean, we would be wooed a whole lot of the time watching him. I remember Derek. We were in practice one day and we threw it into him, and I don't know, 3, 4 people tried to hold him, and two other people fouled him, and he still dunked it. And me and Derek looked at each other like, that's impossible. So he did a lot of those things, and he did them in such a humble way, like no big deal. This is what I do, and he didn't play he played emotional, but he didn't jump around. And I mean, if he did what they do today, he'd be tired, just from jumping around after all the dunks. But no, he was a joy to watch, man.
Well, that's a lot like when you see Brad go up to a buffet. The 2, 3 people try to stop him. They can't do it. It's just impossible.
But and then you got people just are in awe. It's just like that. Wow. It's the same thing.
Bruce, I'm going to bring up something that I'm sure you've never thought of. But what would have happened if there wasn't a fateful sprained ankle for Efrem Winters against Kentucky? Would Illinois have been in the Final Four and maybe won a title?
Well, I tell you, we'd have surely had a greater chance. I think if we got Ephrem at 100%, we had played Kentucky before. We were very familiar with their game. I think we kind of knew where our advantages were, and we played to them. And of course, we played a close game with them. If Ephrem's 100%, we probably win in Rupp Arena. And probably have a great chance of winning a national title. No question, we were playing at a high level. Everybody was playing well. And, when you get to that time of the season, when you're in the tournament, you have to play well. You have to have all your players healthy. And if you don't, it's going to be hard to win. And Kentucky had they were very talented, very big. And playing at home was just a tremendous advantage. But that didn't really bother us. I think if we'd have been 100%, it probably would have been a different outcome.
Yeah, no question about that. Sharing some memories of Efrem Winters, the late Illini great who passed away Monday at the age of 61. I want to finish off. We want to take up a lot of your time here. Is there one, you mentioned a couple of memories here in terms of some of the dunks, things like that. Is there one great story about Efrem that kind of sticks out from the others you could share?
I mean, the funniest stories about Ephrem, I can tell you, weren't just on the court. When we got there our freshman year, I laughed because Ephrem, we're both mothers' boys, mama boys, but Ephrem would have to go home every weekend. And in the spring, we would have our spring workouts. And so, everybody had to be back 6 p.m. Sunday evening for weight training. And it never failed. Ephrem always had a flat tire on the way back, and he would get back late. And I remember Coach telling me one week on Friday, Bruce, go home with Ephrem, and when you go home, put a spare tire in the trunk and be back here at 6. And I busted out laughing. I was like, Coach, I'm not headed to Chicago. But yeah, those are, Ephrem was a man, I tell you, on the court. He just, there was a lot of stories. But the funniest ones were the thing that when he was in his freshman year, just he was homesick. Chicago guy had him a car, and Ephrem was known for tickets. He was the ticket man as well, because he just parked that car around. But we used it, and we went around. But far as the games, I mean, there was, I remember playing Indiana against Bobby Knight, and I remember Bobby hitting him on his back so hard that Ephrem could barely breathe. He was telling Ephrem, great game, and I mean, he hit Ephrem, and Ephrem lost his win, and Ephrem. 3 minutes later, Ephrem said, "Who was that?" And I said, "No, that was Coach Knight, man." He kind of snuck up from behind, but yeah, no, those are the things we remember. Ephraim, he showed up at practice, man. He played every day, and we all laughed because he just didn't say much, but he let his actions speak for him. So he'll truly be missed, man. We love him. Thank Illini Nation for honoring him and remembering him, and thank you guys for taking some time out to reflect. Just how important his time at Illinois and his life was to all of us.
Absolutely. We appreciate you taking your time. As we said before, that was an important time in our lives as Illini fans. It was past the era of Eddie Johnson and Mark Smith and Kevin Von Temps, and you guys took that core and took it to the next level and really put Illinois on the map for the 80s. And it was the group of you guys doing that. And so when this happened right away, we said, let's reach out to Bruce, see if he'll join us and share a few moments. We want to offer our condolences to you. We know what a close friend he was. Like you said, you love him like a brother. And certainly please pass on our thoughts, prayers, and condolences to his family as we continue. And I'm sure a homegoing ceremony is coming up soon.
Yes. Well, I surely will let his family know. And no question that Ephraim definitely was a bridge builder in the 80s when Illinois really got put on the map. And was just a privilege to be a part of it. And of course, we had some great players that came, but Ephraim, I think, really established that pipeline from Chicago to Illinois with the Knicks and the Marcuses and Dion and the players that came. So thanks again, fellas. And I will surely keep all of you in prayer. And I will let the family know that you send your condolences.
We appreciate that. Thanks, my friend. And don't be a stranger. Come back and talk to us again soon.
Yes. Hey, I will. Mike, I'm going to have to get back for sure, guys.
Perfect.
All right. We'll definitely do that. Appreciate
Thanks,
it. Bruce Douglas, thanks so much. Once again, a teammate of Efrem Winters, those great teams in the early 80s. Bruce, All-American status himself, NBA guard, giving us some memories about the late Efrem Winters, who passed away on Monday at age 61. And again, our thoughts go out to his family. Stay with us. We've got Illini men's golf coach, Mike Small, up next about the team about to head out west quite a bit here. We'll ask him as well his memories about Ephrem as we continue here on the Sports Spectacular on the Illini Guys Radio Network.